अंग्रेज अपना लगान और न्यूज लॉन्ड्री अपना हफ्ता कभी नहीं छोड़ते. Welcome to another episode of Hafta. We're recording this on Friday the 13th. So, those of you who don't know, it was a horror film and it's considered the day of all evil comes about, which is why we have Anand in our studio. Justice Anand. Justice Anand. As it's 11 in the morning.
It's for Anand.
For Anand. He just didn't know how to react to that. But we in the studio have our Chief Justice in Waiting, Anand Vardhan. How's the law going? This is exam time, right?
Last week of December, it will start.
It will start last week of December. This is your second year then?
Third
year.
Final year.
Final year. Chalo. After that, you're a lawyer.
One semester is left. This is the fifth semester.
So that's what's happening in Anand's life. And our editor-in-chief, Raman Kirpal.
Hi.
Welcome, sir. Joining us from Dehradun is Manisha Pande. Hi, Manisha.
Yes.
Who'll be back in Delhi next week.
This tonight, actually. I'm taking a flight back tonight.
Oh, you're flying from Dehradun?
Yes.
Okay. Why? Gadkari will be very upset because this thing.
The plane is really at 7 hours.
It's not 7 hours.
It's not 7 hours.
As per the reports, it's 3.5 hours to Delhi.
No, not yet. The expressway opens up this, I think by next year. And then it's going to be 2.5 hours. And everyone in Dehradun is dreading it. Because it means the sort of traffic that the city can't handle.
All the Delhi puppies in their Thars.
Yeah.
Bloody
So
hell.
you're going to reach Dehradun in 2 hours, but from Dehradun to Mussoorie will take 5 hours.
We have another puppy in Thar sitting in this room.
Saddi Thar aayegi Dehradun. And joining
Abhinandan is
Punjabi
with
Munde in
Thar
their
now.
Thars. And joining us is from her home in Bombay is Faye D'Souza. Welcome, Faye.
Hi. As you can see, I'm wearing a t-shirt because Bombay winter.
Right.
Doesn't really happen. It's not a thing.
Although Delhi last few days have been lovely, the sun is crisp. If we can just clean up the air in Delhi, it's I think one of the most magnificent cities in India, if not the world.
Yeah, you keep telling yourself.
No, today is amazing, isn't it?
It is.
It is. Yesterday was amazing. I was out in the park. I made all my calls from the park yesterday.
Yes.
It was lovely.
He needs 300 AQI.
No,
Yeah.
dude. It was 110 or something. It was almost double digits.
Don't tell me.
101.
It was 101,
But
yeah.
from Bombay winters, I always wonder, Faye, that, I follow all these Viral Biyani and all these brands. So, the Bollywood guys at the airport are always in really heavy coats and sweaters and leather. This is just where are you going and where do you live in Bombay? What is your...
Obviously, they don't live in Bombay. So my understanding is that they do that when they walk in front of the airport and then they go inside the airport and take everything off. And then they just walk through the airport like normal people.
You in Bombay, leather jackets, overcoats, blazers.
Anyway.
And then they come to Delhi, they're wearing a sari. Should have been wearing
legend has it, the late Feroz Khan, who really fancied himself as a cowboy, he used to love boots and, the Qurbani look with the leather jacket. But Bombay, there was no such space for leather boots and leather jacket and stuff. So he had this room in his house, which had some 5-6 ACs and it would be freezing. And he'd have a little fireplace there with his Stetson, with his boots and he'd sit around there.
I think that's what all of them do. They just chill their surroundings.
So, I'm sure most of our audience already knows Faye, but for those of you who want a reintroduction, she is the founder of Beetroot News, a youth-oriented platform which promotes non-partisan journalism. She's an award-winning journalist, received the Red Ink Award for Journalism in 2018, and is one of the most influential women in media in India. Arre wah! Ye hota na, influence. And she used to be...
Please stop reading.
Okay, I'll stop reading. But just one quick announcement. We were supposed to have a meetup in Chennai of the members and subscribers of News Minute and Newslaundry, and our own very own Jayashree and Dhanya were to attend, and it was cancelled because of the cyclone. It was supposed to be on 30th November. We still haven't figured out a date because apparently rains are still happening. In fact, yesterday there was heavy rain in Chennai as well. So we will let you know as soon as we have a new date planned. But in case you do want to attend that subscriber meet, if you're a Newslaundry or News Minute member subscriber, Mail us at subscription@newslaundry.com. I repeat, subscription@newslaundry.com. And we will keep you updated on the date and the time and the venue of the subscriber meet. Do come, because these subscriber meets are extremely important to us, because face to face you can tell us what you like, what you don't like, where we can improve. And yesterday we had a baitak on Zoom with our subscribers, and we got some fantastic feedback. So thank you. That's what keeps Newslaundry alive. People like you who take the time, effort to tell us where we are going right and where we're going wrong. Now we have two subjects to discuss today, and just want to prepare everybody. One is, I briefly want to discuss the Kapoor meeting with the Modi, with Mr. Modi, and the techie, suicide, which has created a lot of noise. I wish there was this kind of noise created for every alleged misuse of any law, including one that impacts a lot more people. But before that, let's get the headlines, Manisha.
Yes. The headlines of the week are: the Lok Sabha this week saw repeated adjournments following spats between the Treasury and the opposition benches on various issues, including the Manipur situation and the BJP's allegations on Congress leaders' links with billionaire George Soros. Basically, Sonia Gandhi's links with George Soros, which are highly fantastical, and maybe we can discuss that. Several opposition MPs staged a protest inside Parliament complex carrying placards of different Hindi letters that jointly read "Desh Bikne Nahi Denge" and raised slogans to reiterate their demand of a joint parliamentary probe into the Adani issue. Meanwhile, Samajwadi Party and Trinamool Congress said that Parliament should be allowed to function, as they wanted issues concerning common people to be debated in the House. Mamata Banerjee expressed dissatisfaction with the functioning of the opposition India bloc and indicated her willingness to lead it if given the opportunity. Rashtriya Janata Dal chief and former Union Minister Lalu Prasad Yadav meanwhile supported the idea, saying that the leadership should be entrusted to Mamata Banerjee, adding that any objection from the Congress are inconsequential. I don't know if this made it to news and if you guys saw this, but Lalu Yadav gave a really strange bite, because I watched a lot of TV this week, where he's basically saying Nitish Kumar, he's doing this rally for women and outreach to women before elections, typical of any political party now. And Lalu said, "वो नैन सेकने जा रहे हैं."
Oh, really?
Something like this. Did it make news in your universe?
No.
At least it was all over TV.
What does that even mean?
Nansuk.
No, you didn't see this. So then there was this whole reporters outside Parliament. They interviewed different MPs. Ki Priyanka Chaturvedi, what does he mean? कि ये ऐसे कैसे बोल सकते हैं महिलाओं का अपमान कि वो नैन सेकने जा रहे हैं? Then RJD guys said, नहीं उनकी बड़ी पुरानी दोस्ती है, तो वो तो चलता रहता है दोस्तों के बीच. Maybe Anand followed this very peculiar news flashing all over TV.
Yes, but it means bite kind of.
What does it mean?
Means he is looking for eye candies. Means
he's referring to
it's a women thing.
But who's he referring to?
Nitish. He is doing a women outreach program
I see.
So he is suggesting that he is generating more opportunities to meet women because they are eye candies. And
I see.
Which is a very ridiculous thing for Lalu to say. I can't believe he just said it so casually to a bunch of reporters.
Well, he said a lot more ridiculous things in the past.
Like in fact, Mulayam also.
There was some, they said it should be struck off in the Parliament. I think it was a TMC MP who mentioned, said something about Scindia being popular with women and it privilege motion, or they said strike it off. Anyways, that's the caliber of conversations.
Moving on to more important news. In an unprecedented move, about 60 opposition MPs belonging to the India bloc submitted a notice for a motion to remove Vice President and Rajya Sabha Chairman Jagdeep Dhankar. The notice alleged that since assuming the office of chairperson of the Rajya Sabha in August 2022, Mr. Dhankar had conducted the proceedings of the House in an extremely biased manner. The opposition members also presented a 6-point quote-unquote charge sheet against him in the notice. Meanwhile, the BJP alleged that this no-confidence motion moved by the opposition against Jagdeep Dhankar was an insult to the Jat community and also Kisan community.
Anyone says anything to anybody is... I'm just saying, if I'm raided again by the income tax authority, it's an insult to the Punjabi community, it's an insult to the Tamil community, it's an insult to the journalist community. No one really gives a shit.
Yeah, I was just going to say that we should say journalist community.
No one gives a shit about that.
That won't matter. The Supreme Court paused all surveys of places of worship as it began hearing petitions challenging certain provisions of the Places of Worship Act. The top court directed lower courts to not admit or pass any order on surveys of mosques till the next hearing in this matter. The Supreme Court also took note of the controversial remarks made by Justice Sekhri Yadav of the Allahabad High Court at an event organized by the legal cell of VHP. Yes, VHP has a legal cell.
And what specifically had he said?
He basically said, he said that the country will be run by the majority. जो बहुसंख्यक हैं उन्हीं से चलता है देश और उन्हीं की मर्जी से चलता है. And then he used the कटमुल्ला word. मैं basically said सारे मुसलमान बुरे नहीं होते लेकिन कुछ कटमुल्ला जो होते हैं शब्द तो बड़ा बुरा है इस्तेमाल नहीं करना चाहिए लेकिन then he droned on. So.
But they've taken note, but he's still hearing cases. No change.
Yeah.
I think the notice has been issued to him. So a kind of show cause notice.
Okay.
So he needs to respond.
Instantly removing a High Court judge is not easy.
Right.
Yes.
And I think our this journalist with TMC, she has also moved one.
Sagrika Ghosh.
I think she has moved privilege.
Oh, an impeachment. Yes, an impeachment. Yes, they've sought.
60,
that's
70,
happened.
yeah.
Yes.
Indian teenager Gukesh Domaraju capped a stunning ascent to the pinnacle of chess by dethroning China's Ding Liren to become the youngest ever world champion on Thursday in Singapore.
Yeah, man, amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What a story.
Aam Aadmi Party chief Arvind Kejriwal reiterated that his party will contest the upcoming Delhi Assembly elections alone, ruled out any alliance with the Congress. Sandeep Dixit, son of former Delhi Chief Minister Sheila Dixit, will contest against AAP's Arvind Kejriwal on his home turf, the New Delhi seat. So that will be an interesting contest to watch out for.
I mean, I really don't think it's much of a contest, but I think it's very brave of Sandeep Dixit too.
Sandeep Dixit has contested mostly from East Delhi. So, but he is considered, I mean, just because of his
mother,
his son of
yeah, but to beat Arvind in New Delhi is not easy. I mean, it would, for him, if it was just about winning, there are other seats he could have tried for, but anyway.
The Assam government could reject applications for Aadhaar cards if a resident or their family members did not apply to be part of the National Register of Citizens, the NRC.
Yes.
That's what Himanta Biswa Sarma has said.
He says anything.
So even if a family member has not, you get rejected.
I don't even see how this is constitutional or different. He payloads anything he wants.
Everybody has started ignoring him.
He has started ignoring him. I hope. It's hard to ignore a chief minister, but anyway.
The Union Cabinet approved bills to implement One Nation, One Election, and the draft legislations are likely to be introduced in Parliament in the ongoing winter session.
Right.
Meanwhile, the Modi government appointed Sanjay Malhotra, a 1990 batch IAS officer, as the next governor of the RBI for a 3-year term.
And
French investigative journalism outlet Mediapart accused the Bharatiya Janata Party of distorting its reporting to promote a conspiracy theory involving United States government, billionaire George Soros, and the Congress Party.
Yeah, the article they're quoting, that organization
that has nothing to do with
They said that, sorry, you're misquoting an article, which is typical BJP.
Atul Subhash, a 34-year-old techie from Bengaluru, died by suicide in his home after months of meticulous planning. The story is being debated quite a bit across media channels. He's left a suicide note, a 90-minute video. He's accused his wife of harassing him and misusing dowry laws. And that's sort of sparked a debate around family disputes and
the dowry law itself. I mean, at least the argument or the debate happening on media is that this law is misused too often, so it should be relooked at, we'll discuss that right now.
Former Karnataka Chief Minister S.M. Krishna died in Bengaluru. He was 92 years old. As per reports, Krishna had been unwell for the past few months. Donald Trump has once again, was he before also?
2018, I think he was Person of the Year.
Oh, wow. So he's again Time Magazine's Person of the Year, securing the annual recognition for a second time in less than a decade. Bangladesh has confirmed 88 cases of communal violence targeting minorities, primarily Hindus, since the departure of former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina in August.
Where is she? Is she still our guest in Ghaziabad? Is Sheikh Hasina still? Is she
Officially, yes.
officially?
She's in Delhi.
No, she's in Ghaziabad.
That print
But
reported.
she's
but
spotted
we
in
don't
Lodi,
know.
no? I
I
read
don't
some reports that she was spotted there taking her morning walk.
Was she? Okay.
Meanwhile, the most dramatic news. Syrian rebels captured Damascus as President Bashar al-Assad's government fell. He's fled to Russia. The new leader of Syria is a man called Abu Muhammad al-Julani, who rebranded himself after breaking away from Al-Qaeda.
So those are the headlines. Just want to remind everybody.
Can I add one more?
Yes?
So while speaking in Parliament and answering a question, Nitin Gadkari, who is the Minister of Highways, actually said that forget about reducing the number of road accidents. I have no hesitation to admit that the number of road accidents have increased. And then he said, when I go to international conferences and they're discussing road accidents, I try and hide my face.
Hide my face. Yeah, I saw that.
I found that quite. Nitin Gadkari tends to shoot from the hip a lot, but that's quite an admission.
And in fact,
Even for him.
2 days ago, Gadkari also admitted that 44% of the national highways that which are under construction, they have been delayed. And majority of it is in Maharashtra.
He also said he doesn't want to come to Delhi because of the pollution.
I remember during the Maharashtra elections, right? So this Ladki Behna program that they had, which is being largely credited for the victory. He at that point did a meeting with business people in, I think, Nagpur, and he said that all the money is going to this sort of like programs, and so there's no money to actually execute any of the work that needs to be done in the state in the middle of the election. So I suppose Gadkari's candid, comments are quite. I find them refreshing.
Yeah, he is. So there are three things that I want to, just briefly discuss, and I'll let our guest from Bombay decide what it is that she wants to go with, because I know we only have you till 12. I want to discuss that the, rather sad and tragic suicide of the techie who left that long message, and that has led to the dowry law being discussed on prime time, which I found a little strange. Then I want to discuss this whole one nation, one election. What is the viability of it if we have time? And the third thing is, what was it, Manisha? The third thing was?
Adani versus Soros.
Adani versus Soros, correct. So that. So what do you want to go with, Faye?
God, I love all of it.
So, okay. Let's quickly first go with Adani versus Soros. Just context setting. In Parliament, Rahul Gandhi has come up with this gimmick, which I guess he thought will catch on. People wearing Adani masks, people wearing Modi masks, and some made for each other. Why are you so close to each other and taking shots? And
Adani Modi bhai bhai.
Adani Modi bhai bhai t-shirts and stuff. So, just creating that, trying to like Sefina. So the classy BJP's Gaurav Bhatia came up with Soros and Gandhi, Gandos. Gandhi and Soros ka G and so he came up with that, and then they're saying, oh, they're connected to Soros, and of course Soros, Republic, predictably had a full show on him. So just there was an explainer which was republished by Shekhar Gupta on Soros being an opinionated man who likes to thrust his opinion on everybody, which I don't think any editor in the country should ever say that with a straight face, because they've been doing that for so long to the rest of us. True. Except that they are not billionaires. True. And still they were thrusting their opinion on everybody. So just want to figure, is it okay for, let's say, Ratan Tata to invest in a startup, in a news organization, and it's legit, or Adani, which is everywhere? Right now there is some conference happening, it's sponsored by Adani, a news conference. So Adani money good, Soros money bad, one billionaire's money good, the other billionaire's money bad. Conflict of interest within the country, good, bad. I mean, no sensible discussion has happened around it. Someone is going to own something. So what do you make of this bizarre conversation with zero irony that we see every day? Faye?
I think that the idea that Soros money is in some way anti-Indian, like it's serving some Western sort of vested interest, has taken root, and it seems believable. And I think that right now we're living in such a post-truth world, right? That the fact that politicians feel the need to wear T-shirts and masks and play act some sort of conversation in order to make their point also shows us how short attention spans are and how desperate everybody is to get the attention of the larger population. The fact that in the last couple of weeks, the Adani Group has settled cases with SEBI in which they have effectively paid fines, and by that accepted guilt has not come out at all, in the sense that no one has really had that conversation as to what those cases were, what were they accused of, what have they settled, things like that. The DOJ investigation that came up in the US was not declared to Indian investors in the Indian stock market. All of these things, I feel like the general audience's attention span has shrunk so much that it's difficult to get through any really complex idea. And so this Soros money is coming from overseas, and so it obviously is bad money and something. It's which is why I feel these arguments are so vague and so easy to convince people.
Right.
Whereas everybody knows that the big media in India is owned by 2 or 3 people.
Right.
And somehow that conflict doesn't seem like a conflict. I don't understand, how we got to this point. But these are just ideas that have now become too complicated to communicate to the general public because, attention spans are so short.
Now, also, a political party having a press conference about this billionaire who's, first of all, it's such tuchha amount of money. I don't even know which fellowship. And then Pawan Khera tweeted that, an economic advisor was the recipient of a fellowship. She said she didn't get it directly. She was part of a research group in a MBA school. By the way, all fellowships are like that only. Yes. They don't comment. Soros will not say, here's the money.
True. True with it what it means.
So that's how it happens across the world. But I just think it's rather disgraceful for the biggest political party in the world to take up such, small things and at the same time say, we are so strong, we can take on the world. But we are, I understand politicians will do it. But when news actually has discussions around this, I find it really sad. And that is when you kind of want to lose hope. But
it was a political strategy. If you look at when Congress raised Adani issue, and there were many issues around Adani at that time. US was the very big indictment. After that, BJP came up with a political strategy. One was Soros, and the second was to dilute, the entire attack by by asking rest of the opposition parties that they should not toe the Congress line. And this is what the political strategy was, and BJP was pretty successful so far because the Congress now is, whatever they want to say about Adani, they are saying it outside Parliament and they're coming up with all kind of gimmicks.
Because Parliament is not being allowed to function.
So which is not getting much attention. And BJP is completely ignoring it because opposition is less interested in Adani. Okay, but yes, now another issue which has come up is the vice president.
Yeah, honestly, ever since Dhankar became vice president, it's disgraceful how he's conducted himself. But anyway, we'll come to that later. What is your view on this whole ownership? Some billionaires are allowed to own media, others should not. How does it work in your view, Anand?
I have a different opinion of it. I am okay with all kind of ownership. So, I think we have discussed it earlier also. So I will not go into it. But means investment, I am okay with capital investment of corporate houses in media organizations, but that's a different issue. We can have a different discussion about it. But what has happened in parliament, actually in last a decade or two, is that parliament in the members are not interested in addressing other members. It's everything is in parliament more or less is for the audience that is outside the parliament. So it's in a way it's now a TikTokization of parliament, like what will catch fire, what will be viral, what would be very catchy for the digital audience who are glued to social media platforms. So instead of addressing other members, even if with a lot of hostility, even that is not happening. So all spectacle making is for the audience outside the parliament. So the discussions are not mutual. Even say very say high-pitched diatribe is not happening. Okay, means even abusive language against each other, that is not happening in the parliament. Even if you stoop to very low levels, now it is for other things like what in a way can be called TikTokization.
Yeah, which is the whole idea of the Adani mask, Modi mask, because you got to get public opinion like that.
But I don't think members get the precedence. I think it is the party which gets the precedence. The members work according to the party whip.
Yeah.
I mean, individual acts are only to, yes, for the outside public, but I think mostly the party whip functions.
Well, I would actually blame squarely, and I think it's only valid that you blame one person for this because that is their purpose. Our Om Birla and Jagdish Dhankar, I think their conduct in parliament has been abysmal. It has been partisan. It has been disgrace to democratic, principles. And they should take the fall. It should not be this general, everyone's to blame, we are all to blame. If this is your job, if you can't run it, then step down. No, you can't say I will continue to, do this job. I will do it badly, and then I will blame the world for it. If you can't, step down. Let someone who can run parliament be the chair of it.
Right.
But yeah, I think that's as far as this goes. But before we move on to the next,
I have a question for you.
Yes. Sorry. Go ahead.
So I have a question for you. Now, whether they have no choice or not, but if the opposition is communicating their issues in this manner, where they're putting on masks and wearing T-shirts and play acting in front of parliament, do you think that that they're serving that purpose, or they're making themselves seem more ridiculous?
I don't know. I mean, it really depends on how the media plays it out. I think the pipeline of information has become the determinant of how successful you are. Like, the media makes a non-issue an issue. And when we move on to the next subject, which is the misuse of the dowry law, I'll come to that. But the media can make anything huge. So I think if it was a friendly media, they could have made this whole Adani Modi t-shirt thing one of the biggest spectacles.
Right.
But if they want to ignore it, they ignore it. That's it.
So it has largely been ignored.
I was completely baffled this week as to how much of this George Soros, what Faye was saying, that it's all over. It's actually all over the TV news. From 7 p.m. to 10 p.m., all you're hearing is Soros.
Yeah.
And look, we've been hearing this now for 2 years. Anything happens, George Soros is brought up. But this time, what I found was, particularly stunning was that basically BJP has come up with this press conference where they're saying that Sonia Gandhi is on the payrolls of George Soros. And this is on the basis of a website called nancho.net. Please link in the show notes, at this website. This is the website that everyone's quoting all over. It looks like an HTML class 10th computer project of a kid. Okay. And no one knows what this nancho.net is. No one knows. It's like, I tried to figure out a little bit about the website. It was founded sometime in the 1990s and then it's been defunct. So I guess it's a domain open to be bought. And it was last changed December 6th this year. So it just has this, the Forum of Democratic Leaders in Asia Pacific, where Sonia Gandhi is apparently one of the co-presidents. And this platform has a bunch of articles on Kashmir. And these articles are again like something in the 1990s published in the Outlook magazine, a Pakistani general saying something or the other. And this is, there's a press conference based on this website. And this website is being quoted everywhere, all across TV channels, where anchors are like, tell us, your name is there on the website, asking opposition members, like, what do you have to say to that? And the opposition members are also silly enough to not say that, you tell us where is this website coming from? What's the source of this website? Nanjo.net is all over our news. And completely taken on face value. And you have to see, actually urge our audience to please click on the website and see how ridiculous this website is. Now, I think Sonia Gandhi may have very well been part of this forum. So back in the 90s, it would have been like a South Asia, whatever, democratic nations forum where everyone can put in their views on how to deepen democracy. And Kashmir obviously is an issue where both Pakistan and India have, their opinions on it. And it just platforms that. To use that to say actual, I'm quoting from news anchors, that she has been taking money from Soros to destabilize India. That's the allegation. And it is so ridiculous. And the Congress is also completely unable to fight it. So forget the media, but even the opposition can't fight something that basic.
Yeah, the communication and also, the ridiculous, for example, I've spoken at a few in last 10, 12 years. 2 events. One of them was ORF, which is a Reliance, think tank. And speaking there, I got $25,000. So someone can actually say I'm on Mukesh Ambani's payroll.
I know.
Because I spoke at this event.
Tell me who in India or anywhere in the world is involved in public policy or, or in some sort of an NGO and has not, had Soros money. There's just so much money is thrown. Open Society Foundation has given money to everyone. So to make
Except us. Yeah, we have not got any.
But it's Bill and Melinda. Like Bill and Melinda
Gates has सबको दिया हुआ है.
But I think on Faye's point, I also feel that I kind of agree with Akhilesh and Mamta that you should have allowed the winter session to go on and really, you have good strength now in Parliament. You could really corner government on issues with debates. I don't think this mask and Modani thing flies because the recent reason why you're doing it is the indictment and Modi has nothing to do with that. So I don't even think people are going to, be sympathetic towards the opposition because you're making an issue in which I don't think Modi is necessarily directly involved. And I think this is one problem with the Congress that you keep repeating the same thing without any innovation in your communication. You can't go on and on with the same Modi Adani, bhai, Modi Adani. You have to throw a dead cat, every time. Surprise people with something new. I would have loved to see a debate on pollution where all opposition members could have really cornered the central government on what are you doing on pollution. The entire north of India is reeling under it. There's enough studies to know how many people are dying because of lung cancer and air pollution related diseases. What is the central government doing about it? Not one discussion on environment or on pollution in the winter session, while all of them have gathered in Delhi.
Yeah.
No, if one carefully looks at Rahul Gandhi's line of action, whatever he speaks, he's being tutored, about something. Say YouTube programs, if you see, there also it looks like tutored. And this Adani thing has been happening for a very long time. So he's just picked up that line. But I don't mind if you have Adani as your, attack on the opposition, but then do it effectively. You're not able to do it effectively.
It can't be like a thing you've rattled and now every time you just keep talking about
the other thing that I'm surprised has not come up in Parliament, like Manisha was saying, is food inflation. I mean, most of India cannot afford to buy vegetables. The prices of vegetables have shot through the roof. Food inflation is a genuinely real problem. RBI is trying to grapple with how to solve that problem. There was a report in the Indian Express front page yesterday about how corporate India's profits have gone up a lot, but wages have not
gone up. Yeah, I saw that.
These are questions for Parliament to ask government to, figure out. You've got lower wages, you've got high food inflation. How is anybody supposed to run their houses? But none of this nuanced conversation is coming up at all. Instead, we have this, street play that's happening, which I personally find, as demeaning of Parliament as any of the other stuff that we are seeing.
Right. Now, before we move on, there is this very special message from someone very special.
नाम तो सुना ही होगा. Okay, maybe not special. I manage the production team here, and I have a bunch of young, talented, super enthusiastic people who work behind the scenes with me to bring you these podcasts. But my question to you is, do we matter to you? Does it matter to you that the governments and the corporates are buying out the media, while my team of young, spirited, hopeful people work day in and out for an independent media organization? For you, I really hope it does. Show them that you're not one of those who just complains about the news being broken and then expects it to magically fix itself. Show them that they matter. Click on the link in the description below or just scan this QR code. It's that easy. And remember, you're not just paying to keep news free, but telling us what we do is totally worth it. Over to you, Abhinandan.
Okay, now I just want to, discuss this rather tragic news, and that man, 34-year-old techie. Just the calmness with which he gave his whole thing on the reason for taking his own life was really, it was quite scary, because he's just so calm and he's so clear that this is what he wants to do. Atul Subhash, who took his own life, blamed his wife, in-laws, uncle, etc. And that has led to this whole... There were some protests also apparently, and this debate around the dowry law is misused, and no doubt it is. And we don't know the fact, because apparently the wife has also, or the other side has come with the version which they say that all that he said is not accurate. She was also mistreated, etc. But be that as it may, a lot of primetime space was spent on this. I just want to give you an idea of if you want to talk about misuse of laws, the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. In Parliament, this was the data that was given. The number of PCs filed under PMLA 50, 60, total since 2019, 911. Okay, trial is pending in 257 cases. Conviction has been secured in 42. That means the rest are off, which is 257 minus 911. The conviction rate is less than 6%, or just around 6%. The amount of people who have spent ridiculous amounts of time in jail, not one discussion in the media on how PMLA should be withdrawn. The same week, yesterday, and I'm not saying that these incidents I'm talking about we should revisit the law. In Orissa, a man who was out on bail in the rape case of a minor, he had raped a child. When he was out on bail, he killed her. In Odisha's Sundargarh district. Kunu Kisan is his name. He dismembered her and spread her body in different parts, and CCTV footage they found. On bail, he killed the girl. The accusation was he raped her child and he killed her. I don't see any discussion on no one should get bail, or people who of heinous crimes, rape, murder, whatever it is. I'm not saying that should be a discussion. But I think the articulation of someone from Bangalore, techie, people like us, one case can lead to, and this is the TikTokization of news, because that is something that'll get audience. No one gives a shit about a child in rural Orissa getting raped, getting killed because someone was on bail. It will not, let's revisit all the laws, rules, etc. And I think it's a very sad commentary on the, mainstream media. Although I will say that luckily I didn't see any, op-eds on this in the print media. Mm-hmm. It was just like Anand has often said, the banality of crime. It was reported as that. But on broadcast, it was an issue to be discussed. So what do you make of it? A, am I being too uncharitable? Does this law need to be relooked at? Or do you think you're a little surprised by the attention it's got?
I'm not surprised by the attention it's got at all, because having been in television media myself, I know how television chooses its stories. And television news tends to function on only two emotions, anger and fear, which is that tomorrow this could happen to you, or and so you should be afraid, or this is already happening to a lot of you, and so you should be angry. These are the only two emotions that it sort of pulls from its audience, and that's how it keeps people hooked. So obviously the possibility, the whole point of this case is Bangalore techie, married, divorced, young man, child. It sounds very much like it could happen to you tomorrow. It's emotive. We're also living in a world where there is a resurgence of toxic masculinity, and this thing of feminism has gone too far, and we need to push back against it. The Trump, Andrew Tate sort of mode of the world that we're in, which I don't think we can ignore anymore. So for television, it becomes really easy to sort of play into that and harness all of those views. And as we've seen, they have no conscience. So there's no real care about what impact this will have on the larger scheme of things. It's just about that one night's TRPs. What is the one story that will harness the most reaction from our audience?
And because this has video, it has a dramatic story, it has a dramatic outcome, it has
gory details.
And
Sexual details, stuff that you can actually focus on each and every. I mean, I saw one report where there was an anchor talking to the field reporter, and the field reporter was going into such, textual detail of the manner in which this person died by suicide, which we know from a mental health point of view and from several forms of ethics that we should not go into. It leads to mirror suicides. It triggers people. There are several problems with the way suicide is covered in mainstream media, but they love detail about what he did, and then what he did, and then what he did, and then what he did. I found that really disturbing. And the fact that there was no filter being used at all about whether this information is necessary or does the audience need to know any of this stuff? It's just, let's pull out every single detail and make a separate story of it. And that is particularly disturbing.
But it would be interesting to see if it actually led to TRPs. I'm wondering, is it just, people are just trying anything desperate? I mean, I think because TRPs, in any case, we've done stories on it, are a inexact science. They're problematic. There are allegations of corruptions. There have been court cases, etc. So I think right now people just go for if it trends on Twitter. TRP is an afterthought. I think Twitter is the primary target now.
It was trending, yes.
For broadcast. I think broadcast even started ignoring TRPs because every channel is claiming they are more than
they all
the
know
rest
it's
of
all fake.
Right. Anand, what do you make of this? The law, since you studied legally, how flawed is this law as compared to PMLA or any other law which is misused? Does it have an outsized misuse as opposed to other laws? I mean, I'm not sure we have the data, but just from the legal fraternity.
2-3 aspects of first, the nature of the news. So as was discussed, it was a real time social drama unfolding, which could be converted into a news item. So when earlier in the earlier years of private news broadcasting, these stories came, like the Prince Borewell rescue story.
Right.
The television channels had to be there to cover the social drama to be converted into news. What sociologist Shiv Viswanathan said, that it's a page 1.5 story. It neither is a page 1 story nor page 3, but it falls somewhere between the two. So now that is not needed. You don't need television cameras to cover this kind of social drama within domestic space or in the neighborhood. The social media does it for you. So you have to respond to that feed and see what is viral there. And that was the nature of this news. And it had of course, there is a class bias. See, in the ROC murder case, there was also Hemraj who was murdered. But the focus was because the audience is largely urban middle class, then was now also. So there can be a class bias also of the kind of audience you are catering to. So that is one thing. Second is the law itself. I think, again, the same logic applies to why it was covered and why PMLA not, because PMLA, one can be the political angle. Second, this kind of cases concern the common man, and PMLA would be for select people, means people who are you may say in political positions or in public life or official positions in different organizations or some owners of some corporate entities or some or political leaders. So one distinction is there. Also the now the law itself is there are 2-3 things. The first is that in 2014 and the Supreme Court came with Arnesh Kumar judgment. So earlier the law was very draconian about the Dowry, 498A Dowry complaint. So once a woman or her family files the complaint, that person and the family members named had to be arrested without investigation.
Within 7 years of marriage.
They had to be arrested. Now, the misuse was so rampant that Supreme Court took note of it and said that no, first there should be some initial investigation about the validity of the charges, whether they can be maintainable or not, and then arrest. So that was. Also, lawyers themselves weaponize women who are in distress. When women come to this kind of lawyers, they will give them every sections that can be charged against the husband and her and his family. So give 377 unnatural sex, give domestic violence also, give dowry also, this that.
A bit like how cops do it, na? Sab dal do, sari dhara
make your case strong. And if the aggrieved husband or husband's family finds that one or two charges are false, these are false charges, they see themselves as victims. Like, why we didn't do that? We didn't do that. We didn't hit her. We didn't. So that is also lawyers have a template for all these kind of women complainants. Whoever come, give them this template. Ye dal hi dena hai, this section, this section, this section. So if you go to legal aid sales, the cases of men and their families feeling harassed by these laws is huge. Means if you go for legal counseling, even as an intern, there are a number of families who feel they have been harassed. But now it has come to a point when, say, in domestic space was taken as a political issue when by the feminist movement with that personal is political slogan. So they took the domestic grievances as a power dynamics issue and made it into a political issue. Now that same kind of victimhood is being seen in this also. I'm not comparing that,
Sure.
but now it is being taken as a political issue also, means say galvanization of all the grievances and this, how it can be turned into a public issue. Now, I don't think whether it's a tipping point or not. The third thing is that what you started with, the clarity with which he has written his or prepared his video or written his suicide note. So
and the calmness, very disturbing.
Yes. So I think it's a very interesting insight into psyche of suicide also, and goes back to the philosophical question that Camus raised in the myth of Sisyphus, that the point that man commits suicide is not that interesting. It is more interesting that why he does not commit a suicide. Means the question of existence, why he finds existence interesting and why life livable. Now, if you take away that reason from him, and when he comes to that frame of mind, whether it's it can be a mental disease also, but it can be like wilting under pressure of a lot of things. But also I stick to my earlier points on suicide, that suicide should not be the justification for, means in many other similarly aggrieved ex-husbands would not commit suicide under similar
and that was
conditions.
also the case a few years ago in the US when this one guy was in university at, I don't know, they call it hazing or the ragging equivalent. And, one kid took his own life. And then there was this, should it be abetment charge? The courts in the US let them go. Say, it was, this happened to 100 kids. One kid took his life. While, of course, there should be rules about what hazing rituals are allowed, but you cannot put that as abetment to suicide because that is to do with that specific frame of mind of that child's, how mentally strong, emotionally disturbed he or she was. So yeah, I agree with you. Suicide cannot be the determinant of the motivation of the other person because it's too much to do with your own frame of mind as well. Manisha, you have a view on this? And of course, I think a lot of excitement happened on this because most anchors are men. I don't think a woman would say, let's relook at this law. I think that has everything to do with it.
I think Anand makes a very important point of weaponization of this law by lawyers. And this is something similar that we are seeing in Uttar Pradesh with the love jihad law. So whenever there's an interfaith marriage that collapses because the husband is cheated or has abandoned the woman or is moved on with someone else, the woman is likely to use forced conversion and use love jihad laws to extract her revenge. Now, this is also because lawyers would advise her that, use this law. Or also you have like the VHP as a legal cell. So you see that a lot of love jihad cases are interfaith marriages where the marriage happened with the full knowledge that the guy is Muslim and the woman is entered with a consensus. But then as it turns sour, she's likely to use love jihad and say that, I was forcefully converted or whatever. And I think with dowry cases, anecdotally, we don't have data on this, but I know at least 2 lawyers who do family law quite a bit. And they had very horrible stories of families, husbands, misuse of the law. Precisely for the same reason that a marriage can break for many reasons and sometimes the woman is genuinely aggrieved. But these laws are then brought into action to kind of extract revenge. And that the problem with this law is also it extends to the family. It's not just the husband. So I think that is one reason why I think it evokes so much emotion also because it's not, marriage is between 2 people and it's not just the husband that's going to be facing the repercussions for, in such a case, it's your mother, it's your father that will also be trapped in. But again, like you said, there is not a single law maybe in India that's not misused. What do we do when such a case happens? What kind of debates can we have around it? Because there's no relooking. We need the dowry law. We can't scrap it.
Right.
But should there be a sort of reportage? Should there be data on this to sort of shame people who actually misuse it? Because it's a very important law that protects women. And just because a few people are misusing it, it's, getting this flag. But maybe there should be some sort of penalty. I'm sure there's already a penalty. I don't know.
I don't know.
I find also, if I may, there is a danger here when, the misuse gets more screen time or mind space than the actual crime. And dowry, harassment, domestic violence, violence against women is a serious issue in our country. It's a life-threatening issue. But what happens when these sort of stories get a lot of mind space is that the next time a woman goes to actually file a complaint, which she will do upon the risk of her own life, the cop and a bunch of other people will be like, "Haan, jhoot bol rahi ho." And that becomes really dangerous. And to be fair, also, if we look at the divorce laws and the way we don't have alimony, the way maintenance is decided, the Supreme Court has just put out a new list. But child support, maintenance, just those things are really archaic in India still. And they're not friendly or it's not a system that's easy for women to use if it's not an amicable divorce. And very often that is also why, and I'm not condoning this, that's also why divorce lawyers resort to all of these other options saying, jaldi nipta sakte hain. Let's do it this way if they're not agreeing. Because if you happen to be someone who doesn't have access to a lot of funds, divorce proceedings become difficult and drawn out and, painful.
Okay, so quickly, I just want to discuss this, and I know Raman sir hasn't weighed in on this law yet, but I'll come to that. Of course, one is to do with, I think, a disproportionate amount of scrutiny is given to the law itself and often judgments. Whereas the real weakness in our country is in the middle, the investigation. If the investigations were more robust, whether it is many cases that we see, and I've spoken to judges, and those judges aren't necessarily bad people, but they say that judge had no option but to give this order because the investigation was so shoddy. The judge cannot say, I know you've done it, so I shall pronounce you guilty. Because then every judge can say, I go by my instinct because I know. That investigation piece gets too little scrutiny. And in our country, the Delhi cases, the Delhi riot cases, the investigations, disgraceful copy-paste of FIRs. I mean, we ourselves have had police here saying that video that we shot of horrible slogans being raised and the cops threatening me that we will put tampering of evidence on you rather than investigate what actually happened.
Yes.
It is the police system that is shit. You know, it is not the law itself or the judgment. And I think, and that is why I keep repeating, I have, out of all the state institutions, I have least respect for the police.
No, I think the time has come, like the Anand says, the Supreme Court had given that ruling.
Sure.
On the Dowry Act. The observation that basically you should first do the preliminary investigations before arresting the people. So I think the same should happen in PMLA and UAPA cases also. I mean, what kind of investigation that has been done? For 4 years, you haven't even filed, you haven't even started the trial. You are supposed to start the trial within the 90 days, but under PMLA and UAPA, it seems everything is exempted.
Right. So, Faye, we will not get to the, one nation, one election. Maybe we can save it for another day. But this meeting of the Kapoors, Bollywood's first family, which is Bombay family, the Chembur studio no longer exists, like RK studio that was sold a while ago.
It's been redeveloped by Godrej into condos.
Okay. So, I don't know whether our audience saw the video. I think Akash Banerjee, Deshbhakt's observation that what he found most disgraceful about this video was that the first family of Hindi cinema in India, not one member could string a complete Hindi sentence together without stuttering and stammering. And that is something back in the days when I had interviewed Bollywood actors, I used to be surprised by, is that they cannot, and even those who could, for some reason, they didn't want to give interviews in Hindi. Now they do. And I'm talking about Akshay Kumar back then, when, he was a new young hero, and I had gone with Geeta to interview him in Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium.
And for Hindi films, they don't get a script in Devanagari.
They get in Roman alphabet. But yeah. So, did you see the video? What do you make of it?
Clips of the video, I really didn't have the mind space to watch all of it.
Right. It was an invitation to attend the Raj Kapoor. One thing that Modi ji is briefed very well. I think, and of course, he kind of makes it seem like everything is invented by him. He says even before the word soft power was invented, Raj Kapoor had taken India's soft power through his films all over. He was very popular in Russia. If you said Raj Kapoor, you've heard these stories from so many people. Raj Kapoor cinema was... But the thing about Raj Kapoor was, what his cinema stood for is everything is the antithesis of what this government cinema stands for. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting. Yeah. Sorry, Faye. Go ahead.
I mean, I saw that clip where the Prime Minister talks about the fact that back in the day when they had lost a Delhi election, at that point, Atalji and Adani ji said, let's go watch a film. And they watched a film called Ab Subah Hogi, I think.
Fir Subah
Hogi.
Fir Subah Hogi. And he said,
Subah Fir Aayegi.
Wo Subah Fir Aayegi. Haan.
Something like that. And everybody laughed, everybody clapped. It was so well put together. And, okay, so this is what I'm going to say as someone who spends a lot of time on social media. While the Congress is putting on masks and doing play acting, which we talked about in front of Parliament, in order to get the TikTok views and is feigning, the Prime Minister is succeeding. Because he's got the celebrities. His stories are just the right length to fit a reel.
True.
They have just the right punch point for people to say, oh, that was so witty, and I'm going to share that. So he's actually winning the Instagram Reels contest while the Congress is losing. I mean, let's ask ourselves this question this week. What is likely to have popped up on an average person's social media timeline more? The Kapoors with the Prime Minister, or the Adani, whatever it is Rahul Gandhi did outside of Parliament, or any of the other issues that we discussed, like air pollution, for example, or, food inflation, or unemployment, or wage growth. Have any of these things found their way to your timeline, or have you seen this Kapoor Baitak more? And I think that it's just strategy, it's content strategy that seems to be very on top of the timeline right now that's working.
Right. Just
It's working out everything else.
the film called Phir Subah Hogi,
फिर
released
Yeah.
released in 1958, and it had that song आसमां पे है खुदा और ज़मीं पे हम आज कल वो यहाँ देखता है कम वाला जो गाना है
वो सुबह कभी तो आएगी.
नहीं, वो अलग गाना
वो सुबह
हाँ,
कभी
वो
तो आएगी, yeah, was a song in this
in
film,
this
correct?
film.
Yeah, so did you see that, Manisha? What do you make of that video?
Yeah, I saw the 4-minute video that they released. To me, the most striking thing was the occasion was the centenary celebrations of Raj Kapoor, but they actually just talked about Modi. All of them gave piece to cameras on Modi. That he is my hero, he is my real life hero, वो बिल्कुल ही global leader हैं. मेरा बहुत करीना कपूर की मैं बहुत ही मन था कि उनके साथ में रहूं और कुछ बात करूं. So actually they just went around talking about Modi rather than Raj Kapoor. That was quite
Raj Kapoor. But yeah, Faye, before we say bye-bye, your recommendation for the week?
So, for a complete lack of things to watch and read, I started rewatching Desperate Housewives yesterday. Don't judge me, but it's old television that was made before the internet, where they actually took time to write dialogue that was very intelligently written. I kind of enjoyed it. I find that the stuff that was written before the internet, took its time more. And was written better. I was also watching The French Lieutenant's Woman the other day, also written so beautifully, where, they really took their time with dialogue because attention spans were different.
Yeah.
So I'm watching old stuff because I just don't have I don't have the mental thing to be surprised anymore. So I'm just watching things I've already watched before.
All right. Happy viewing. Thanks so much for making the time.
Thank you so
Take
much,
care.
guys. Thank you so much. Enjoy your Christmas, your New Year.
Oh, yes. Happy
season.
Christmas and all
Yes,
that.
and to all your subscribers as well.
Yes. To all of you.
Bye.
you.
Merry Christmas.
Yes. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Happy New Year.
Yes. Did you see the video, sir?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't see it. So did you?
I just saw the picture.
Pictures,
in
yes.
I just
Pictures
saw
I
that.
saw, not the
Pictures.
video.
I just find I couldn't.
No, you are so right. I mean, Raj Kapoor's movies, I was so much influenced during my college times when I saw them. And this was absolutely opposite to what Modi preaches.
Next, you will have Manmohan Desai's centenary saying that.
No, I think it is not about Mr. Modi. It is about who is the Prime Minister. They would have gone it and so invited the Prime Minister of the day.
Nah.
No, I think the weaponization of it, for example, just the way the video is shot, it's clearly been shot to show Modi as this large than life.
Yeah.
It's not that. I think Modi has realized.
Yeah, they're only talking about
Like who
Modi.
says
The videos
like
they-
who says like on Animal you are doing
No, no.
songs like his piece to camera was this fool what's his name the hero of Animal रणवीर कपूर हमारी तो हवा निकल रही थी जब मिलना था भाई क्यों हवा तेरी क्यों निकल रही है तू मोदी से मिल रहा है मतलब व्हाट इज दिस हवा निकल रही थी मेरी क्या बोलूंगा कैसे वो क्या बोलें कैसे होंगे व्हाट आर यू यार I just this whole piece it is can you imagine anyone saying that we are going to meet Manmohan Singh हवा निकल रही थी Manmohan Singh it is basically कि boss I am the dude you fall out of line with me neither will your centenary happen neither will your
No, first of all, we don't know who organized it. The government organized it or the family wanted to make it?
family. That is what I am saying. That they would have gone to invite the Prime Minister. What remaining happened is another thing.
Nah.
Right.
But they would have gone because you have famous photographs of the Trinity,
No,
Devanand, Raj Kapoor, Dilip Kumar in Prime Minister's house. You have in fact, Dilip Kumar in his autobiography writes that there was a shooting in which Vaijayanti Mala and Dilip Kumar both were there. So when Vaijayanti Mala's mother was bragging that Pandit Ji, means Pandit Nehru, would come, and we are so close, and this. So when Mr. Nehru came to the shooting, he ignored Vajanti Mala and her mother, and shook hands with Dilip Kumar and went away. So he says that her mother's face was a sight to watch. So the I think these proximity games were there.
No, I think, if they are meeting the Prime Minister, and if they already know the kind of movies that Raj Kapoor had done, so they should not be praising the leader. No? I mean, they should not.
They should talking about Raj Kapoor.
So if
they
it was,
talk about Modi.
if it was just the Prime Minister inviting the Prime Minister, fine. Okay, it wasn't the institution. You are praising the leader like hell. I mean, as Manisha said, they were talking just about Modi. I mean, I haven't seen that video, but this is
leadership
bizarre.
Anthony Bourdain and Obama, for example, that famous cafe thing they did in Vietnam. So that's all nice, proximity games and all that. But like I said, you're only talking about how great Modi is, and then the other shot that PMO has released is where Modi is saying कि मेरे पास एक idea है, क्यों ना हमको ऐसी movie बनाए जो East Europe से लेके, मतलब he's basically giving them movie ideas and they're shit, moving their head like that.
Oh, really?
It should be the other way, where the Prime Minister wants to listen to, okay, what have you guys planned for the Senatory? What are your thoughts? What can we do? What do you need from the government? It could be more than, this is very it's what anchors do with Modi, actually.
Basically, it is the Baba Ram Rahim Singh Ji insan of Modi is turning into that. कि भाई हम bowling भी हमने सिखाई है, इरफान पठान को, बैटिंग कोहली को हमने सिखाई है, फील्डर भी हम ही है, डायरेक्टर भी हम ही है. तो मोदी कैन से बादल आ गए हैं, चलो अटैक करते हैं. फोटो डिजिटल का ही इन्वेंटेड, फिल्म कैसे बना वो भी मैं. ही इज पापा जी, the इंसान. I am everything. I'm the genius and everything.
Nice.
Anyway, that's it. So I think the discussion on One Nation, One Election we can do next time. Maybe we can get this one on it, Meghnad, because now it'll be in Parliament. We have a lot of emails, and because we've kept many of them, because many of them were addressed to Manisha and Anand, and both of them weren't there last week. So we've kept them for this week, so we can exhaust them because we have time. So Manisha, you want to go, but before we do that, just want to remind everybody, please pay to keep news free. We have seen an unprecedented dip which happens after elections in subscriptions. There's news fatigue, but newsrooms cannot depend on news fatigue. That now the next 2 months you will not be paid. When election comes, you'll be paid. An institution has to function with a certain amount of predictable uniformity. So I would urge you, here is the QR code. There is a link in the show notes. Do contribute, subscribe, share with your friends. Otherwise, all media will be owned by either Adani or Soros or Ambani. Choose your billionaire carefully. It's better if media is not owned by any billionaire and is actually funded by you. That's the best option. Also, if you want to mail us, give us any feedback, recommendations, criticism, you can mail us at podcasts@newslaundry.com. I repeat, podcasts@newslaundry.com. We only entertain the emails of subscribers. There's a link in the show notes. You can press on that link also, and it'll open out a little window where you can give in your feedback. Please keep your feedback less than 150 words so we can include as much as possible. Yes, Manisha, please go ahead.
Great. So Niranjan says, first-time writer, sick of the tirade against Anand. Just voicing some support, not that Judge Sahab needs it. Modi government bashing is easy, and we have Abhi to do it in very colourful words. I don't expect Anand to participate in it. Rather than pass black and white judgments on incidents, he provides a historical, cultural, legal context which brings out tremendous nuance. That's what critical thinking is all about, isn't it? Really enjoy listening to him. It is very instructive to see him take his time, carefully construct his thoughts. Mr. Sekhri takes some notes. Just kidding. He said it before, he provides views which are not commonly obvious. Been a while since you recommended some pleasant readings on the banality and meaninglessness of life. Keep them coming. Also would love a What's Your Ism with Anand. Cheers to the NLT.
Yeah, maybe we should do What's Your Ism with Anand. Anand, but I'm just saying, everyone started calling you Judge Saab. But I invented that. No one else should take credit. Tomorrow when you actually become a judge.
Kunal Kamra, I wonder if it's the comedian. But anyway, the letter from Kunal Kamra says, what do you guys think of stand-up comedians like Samir Raina? For context, his humor includes gems like, a few days ago, I tweeted something funny about my girlfriend, but when she didn't like it, she made me delete it. Next time I suggest an abortion, I better not hear my body, my choice. When progressives call him out, he blames the left. Recently, he also argued people to burst firecrackers during Diwali, criticizing environmentalists for their selective awareness. He's a fan of the Kashmir files and cracks jokes about Kashmiri Muslims, which are more about stones and bombs than actual humor. I used to think everything could be joked about in the name of artistic freedom, but comedians like Samir are making me rethink that. Oh, and he's a favorite of the proud too. I actually haven't followed anything of Samir Raina.
Actually, this is the second time someone's told me about Samay or Sanjay Rana. What's his name? Samay Raina. So I haven't seen any of his work, but someone else has also pointed out that he's very popular, but he's really, full of crap. I haven't seen his stuff. So I don't know whether this is our friend Kunal Kamra, the comedian, or some other Kunal Kamra, but if we get the time, we'll watch some of his stuff, but I have no context on who he is or what his humor is like.
I think even Usha Kapila had a problem with him, if I'm not mistaken. He did some roast of Usha and she was very upset because she felt like it crossed the line. Talked about her marriage and all.
I see.
But I don't follow him at all, so can't comment on what he does.
Okay.
But the joke is dumb. The abortion joke is stupid. Rohit, I noticed a thing in every other rally of Modi ji. He notices some people climbing on walls or towers to see the stage and he calls them out, showing concern for their safety and well-being, and media carries it out like what a good deed Modi ji has done. I think it's staged because it happens very often, and if you think the same, please do a story, it'll be fun.
Maybe we should track down all the people who climb poles.
So that, no, I don't think it's staged because people do climb a lot of things in rallies. But he's probably, I think the media is just picking it up every time is a bit weird. Like, I think last year we had a lot of reports on Modi stopping for an ambulance. Like his cavalcade is going and an ambulance comes and he stops. And
I don't know how this happens. I live in Delhi, guys. There is no way in hell you can get anywhere close to the presidents or the prime ministers. Not just Modi ji. Any prime minister or presidents, bandobast. So I don't know how this ambulance suddenly appears because they stop the traffic for 15 minutes before it is anywhere close to coming. So beats me how this happens.
But I think in rallies, people are dangerously climbing a lot of things. So I don't think that is staged. But maybe him showing concern and the media covering it is a bit tacky. RS says, I am not saying Abhinandan Sekhri shouldn't be on NL Hafta, but I have to say that I enjoyed the dynamic at South Central first episode a lot more. I'm just a petty feminist, but I think your conversations are richer when your interlocutors are people like Pooja and Dhanya.
Noted, RS. We shall communicate that to her, but I hope you're watching South Central because after a short time, that is also going to be behind the paywall. So consume it for free while you can. Of course, RS is a subscriber, but this is to all the non-subscribers.
Abhijit says, the Sheila Rashid interview was excellent. Unbelievably, I found her point of view persuasive. Abhinandan's balanced approach had a lot to do with that. Great work again. I haven't received the email about the Zoom call. I hope you got it, Abhijit. We had it yesterday.
Yeah, I wonder if you were there, Abhijit. I hope you got it. But yeah, you got to check spam because even I get a lot of non-spam mails that go into my spam folder.
Sudip Roy says, Abhinandan need not have punched down while speaking with a struggling Sheila and could have tried to understand the pressure on her, resulting in an abrupt turnaround and the disappearance of her party with sharp result. He should have used this sarcasm while interviewing the Ram Winger, Amish's label, Amish Tripathi, with whom he was visibly differential. That brings me to the challenges journalists face in gaining access to interview prominent people. Is polite but hard questioning ruled out at the outset by their respective teams? Manisha, for example, was lobbing softballs at Aditya Thackeray and refrained from questioning his party's yo-yo between hard and soft Hindutva lines and the role of election outcomes in choosing the strategy. We might be seeing another change in Shiv Sena with the recent electoral reversal. Finally, young and fearless reporters at NL are doing a wonderful job of digging out meaningful ground reports, and I'm happy to contribute. So actually with Aditya Thackeray, I did ask him questions about Hindutva, his position, his grandfather's position, what are his... But yes, I'm not...
But that's not your style. I mean, but that kind of thing is not your style. It's not like there's an inconsistency in her.
You don't look like attacking.
So Deep Roy, I'll tell you honestly, I consciously did not go with Sheila the way I did with Vivek Agnihotri, although I thought some of her points were as ridiculous and inconsistent as Vivek's, purely because I know Vivek is my age and Sheila's 10, 15 years younger. So I, in fact, thought I was really restrained. And I wasn't differential to Amish at all. I mean, I don't know what you're talking about. In fact, just so you know, Amish's team was recording the thing separately because I think they bought into the whole Vivek Agnihotri that I doctored the interview and put it. So of course, they thought that I wasn't noticing. But when our thing was set up, they set up another camera and recorded the whole thing. So yeah, I mean, it really depends on how inconsistent I find someone's position. And I don't think in Amish's case, there's some inconsistency in his position earlier and now. Whereas in Sheila's, there's a clear turnaround. So of course, I'm going to ask about that.
Anonymous says, hi team, just wanted to write to appreciate Abhinandan's interview with SR, Shaila Rashid. She seems to have launched a campaign on X to discredit NL. Perhaps you could consider making the interview free so people can see and judge for themselves rather than just see the single clips she's sharing. Anyone watching the full interview would be able to see that Abhinandan asked other things as well and harped on the Modi point because she took so damn long to answer that question. I won't judge her for switching sides and actually found her narrative of why she did so quite convincing. But you can make these points without entirely shilling for our selfless PM and HM. Her point about partition on Islamic rather than religious lines were also very interesting and gave me much to think about. Maybe we can next month put it out for some time.
But in fact, I think those incomplete clips I'm hoping will make people subscribe. But yeah, I'm not in favor of making our interview suddenly free because someone is outraged. And, Vivek did the same thing. He kept up and Tejinder Bagga helped him. But you missed one email above. I'll just read that. Vishnu says, Chetan Bhagat already revealed he's closeted righty. Okay, he's right of center. He went crazy about caste census. I expected the NL team to push back, but that's my wrong. Data is always good. And in case large countries with high population, it is even more relevant. The Supreme Court made a lot of statements in the sub-classification verdict, and of course, Vishnu has used a word referring to the Supreme Court, which is not complimentary. It is because there is no data, and even their judgment emphasized empirical data, though they didn't look at any data to make the judgment. Chetan Bhagat and Nimataya, the same when it comes to this. She asks, what patriarchy? And then he asks, why caste census? And then also brushed past my previous message about the casteist nature of Supreme Court. I don't know whether we brushed past it. I mean, I'm not sure, Vishnu, what you're talking about. Maybe that email is coming up because all emails above 150 words and which had Anand and Manisha have been stored. But at least what my recollection of Chetan's caste census was that he said it is not a political strategy, it doesn't work. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, he said, Rahul is saying caste census. But there is no narrative, he'll do caste census, then what will you do?
He didn't speak against caste census.
He didn't say that you should not do a caste census. He was saying as a political, lever that Rahul Gandhi or whoever is using, it has no traction. Because if you're saying do a caste census, you have to have, based on caste census, we will do X. Now there is a cap on reservation by Supreme Court. So if you have no further narrative, as a political tool, it doesn't work. That is what my recollection is.
And also, he was talking about this caste census, approach of Rahul Gandhi in terms of Maharashtra election. That they had lost, and he's talking about caste census, but he doesn't know what he's going to do with it.
Yeah. I think that is what. This is what as a political thing, it was.
But he wasn't against the caste census as well.
Yeah, even that's my recollection as well.
Norman says, "Oh dear heavens, this Bhagat chap is truly a marvel of idiocy. He's out here comparing Modi ji and his folks to the parents of voters because apparently parental love now includes the side of communal violence. Who knew? Did your parents ever go around beating up Muslims as an extracurricular activity? Mine must have missed the memo." And the cherry on top, Bhagat's profound observation that voters just want to feel safe. Oh really, Chetan? What exactly were these voters in mortal peril? Why exactly were these? When exactly were these voters in mortal peril? Was it during the great epidemic of over-friendly Muslims handing out biryanis? Meanwhile, Muslims are out here getting beaten, jailed, shunned like they're extras in some dystopian drama. But no, it's Chetan and his tribe of comfortably cushioned elites who are trembling under their beds, clutching their laptops and writing their next bestseller on victimhood. My God, what did Chetan say to invite this?
I think he was talking about that Indians want three things. One is they want their festivals. Two is they want unhealthy carbohydrates. And three is they want to feel safe, religion safe. That's. But yeah, if Chetan, you listen to it, see the kind of emails you get each time you come on the Hafta.
Oh, right. I often wonder, like, should we edit out emails that are attacking our guests? Because it's kind of rude, no?
Well, it depends. Chetan is a friend. He can take it. He doesn't.
But I think guests also feel like एक तो invite कर रहे हो फिर अगले उसमें गाली भी दे रहे हो. जो हम नहीं देखो.
What I'm saying is that I just think we should be consistent. जब कोई हमें गाली देता है, हम वो तो edit नहीं करते. I think our guests should also toughen up, yeah. Don't be such whiners.
If we must expect others to toughen up. No, we can be tough because organizationally we can take criticism. But I don't know.
You tell us what you think. You tell us what you think. Do you think we should, what is it called? CBFC क्या करता है?
Beep.
Censor. Do you think we should censor our mails that should have CBF certificate when talking about our guests? Because I know Chetan can take it. I remember when Smita was here, Smita Prakash, I think clearly she's not aware of what news is. And she's not aware of criticism. So she said, oh, one they call me and then they are criticizing me. Or say, Smita ji, they do the same to sometimes me, Anand, Manisha. But clearly you have never ever comprehended that someone who hears my voice can be critical and someone can carry that criticism. I was blown. Some people are in such a cocoon. I mean, same thing with when Karthik, when he was a producer, at that time we didn't used to get 20, 30 mails. We used to get 4, 5 mails, which are critical, and he used to forward them to all of us, Manisha, if you remember. And I remember Anand, not this Anand Ranganathan, replying, please don't send me these mails. I don't want to read them. I was like, dude, if someone wants to criticize you, read it. If you agree, you mail on something. If you don't agree, junk it.
Right.
मैं देखना ही नहीं चाहता कि someone is saying something bad. Oh, my God, man. And then they call liberals sugar plums. नहीं क्या कहते हैं? Snowflakes.
Okay, Ankur Jalan says, I've been a subscriber to NL for 5 years. Unfortunately, very few of my letters have been read on NL Hafta or Charcha. Despite Atul's frequent encouragement to write, our letters are rarely acknowledged. Regarding Hafta 513, the claim that Anand merely analyzes issues is absurd. Having listened to Anand for over 5 years, I can confidently state that his views lean towards pro-Modi government. For instance, Anand once mentioned that communal conflicts were a common occurrence in Bihar during his youth. Did Muslims use loudspeakers in front of Hindu temples back then to incite riots? The provocative communal songs played by some Hindus in front of mosques during Hindu festivals are clearly intended to rile up Muslims. Why can't right-wing Hindus celebrate their festivals peacefully without targeting Muslims? I also have a lot to say about the US elections, having lived here since 2012. Anand's perspective on US elections is inaccurate. I'll elaborate on that in a separate letter.
So, hey, Ankur, I don't know why your mails haven't made it, because they're 161 words, but even those, the longer ones we read later, so maybe they're going into some other folder. But if this has found its way, others should as well. But before Anand speaks for himself, I just want to say that Anand was one of the first employees of Newslaundry in 2012. And back then, because I was one of those excited part of Jan Lokpal, if you listen to him back then, you would think he's pro Manmohan Singh government. Because he was always disagreeing with me on Arvind Kejriwal, who was he a chief minister? He wasn't, right?
No.
AAP also wasn't formed. So Anand and I used to disagree then. So you might think he was pro Manmohan back then. I think because Anand is trained to be a bureaucrat. He agrees with the government. Anand, I'll let you speak for yourself now.
No, means it is his perspective. I said that the Bihar thing in a different context, but okay, what I can say, what is the context of his letter? I don't.
Right.
It is not clear.
Okay. Yes, Manisha, please go ahead.
Vatsa says, just watch Abhinandan's interview with Shaila. I don't know what Abhinandan felt as an interviewer, but as a watcher, it was really frustrating. Shaila deflecting questions, left, right, and center, making logical fallacies, loaded statements, along with a provocative attitude and just very juvenile team-style debate line of arguments. Probably the worst was her response to Abhinandan, asking her about hateful anti-Muslim slogans being raised every day. Her recent position on things reminded me of Thomas Hobbes' theory of state being a leviathan against which it is futile for civilians to raise their voice. Perhaps it's just a personal fatigue from realization that as an activist, it is much more difficult mentally and physically to have a life, while you can get a lot done for yourself and your own family if you just toe the line of establishment. After all, it takes great courage to continue for what you once stood with integrity, especially in the face of opposing headwinds.
Yeah. No, Vatsal, I don't get frustrated. My purpose of doing an interview is never that I'll change the person's mind in one interview or even in one recording. As long as the audience can see the inconsistencies, I think that's my job.
Vatsal again writes that he heard your LTA Punjab Part 1, made me reminisce my reading of Mark Tully and Jacob's book a few years ago. It's somewhat interesting to know that probably the first major terrorist act in India were committed by radical Sikh groups as big as bombing of Air India flights and not by the radical Islamist groups that emerged largely after end of Cold War era and the cross-border spillover in Kashmir. For a lot of people of my generation, mid-90s born, this would be a shocking detail as they have come to equate acts of terrorism with radical Islam and often argue on the lines of why only one religion across the world is involved in terrorism. I think it becomes important for the youth to understand politics of radicalization and alienation of minorities as well as larger politics influencing the social divides. Keep up the good work. Happy to contribute to the sensible version of you are the media rather than what Musk is propagating to his fans.
Right. Thank you, Vatsal. Yeah, but I hear you. I mean, people forget about whether Sikh or Islamic. I think many people don't even realize what Punjab was in the 80s, man. I mean, I had family there. The fear, and of course, I've said this earlier also, the fear wasn't just with the regular people. Fear with politicians. No one wanted to be high profile. In fact, this is a comment made in the early 2000s. I don't remember by who. I saw it in an interview where, you know, when Amar Singh and Anil Ambani were leading very flamboyant life, like 3As, there used to be all these cover stories in magazines and supplements, you know, Amar, Akbar, Ambani, Amar, Amitabh, Anil, they're the 3As, they would attend this award. And in passing, I said this phenomena of politicians showing their Bentleys and this new life wasn't there in the 80s because no politician wanted to be in the limelight because no one wanted to come in Bhindranwale's crosshairs. That was the kind of fear which people cannot even imagine today. Lawrence Bishnoi in jail is knocking off all sorts of other people, but you know, no politician is scared of him. Manan's letter is very long, but basically what Manan is said is that we should get Jeffrey Sachs as a commentator to speak about the Ukraine war. Manan works with a think tank and he says Jeffrey Sachs is someone they invite all the time and he's an extremely good speaker.
And he can help us connect with him, so that's great. Yeah, we should do that. So
we should do that. So Manan, I'll connect with you and maybe you can get Jeffrey Sachs for us. Excellent. And this next one is also 446 words. So I'll just quickly compress it. It says, apologies for the length of letter. Certain clarification given Abhinandan's comment on my previous letter. The previous letter was written in an attempt to redirect the conversation away from democracy and autocracies, forms of government, towards the undemocratic elements with geopolitics itself. That was the trigger, and not whether or not Israel and the United States are democracies. So this is the whole thing of, can we describe something as a democracy or not? So I think Anonymous and I have this ongoing to and fro. So I've read your entire email. One little point he makes is that Anand's statement on national security advice and J&K statehood was used in order to give an example of the undemocratic elements of decision-making in matters relating to sensitive geopolitical conditions, which is peculiar to J&K and Ladakh due to its geopolitical consequences. Not to comment on a referendum or governance. But, Anonymous, the same logic can be applied to Israel. There is also geopolitical existential thing, no? So, I mean, I just think that there is no absolute democracy and absolute autocracy. And I give the same example each time. In Brazil, the budget is made bottom up, not by a bunch of bureaucrats. That's also democracy. In Switzerland, they can amend the constitution if 50,000 people sign a petition. That's also democracy. India is also democracy. So now we are splitting hairs in how democratic a country is. But yeah, that's my only thing.
Okay, another anonymous letter says that after going through Rashid's interview, I have newfound respect for Abhinandan. Poor man probably exhausted his patience for an entire month. I know I did, while he patiently waited as she yapped on about everything under the sun. The takeaways, it reminded me so much of my vivas in college. I hope she was countered when she said everyone needs to look at what's the best for him, and the best is they move abroad. The increased numbers show it, should they? Her view that improved civic sense should be the top priority in India, where 50% can't feed themselves, was a face palm moment. There was a mask off moment as well when she revealed how being pro-BJP has opened up avenues for her while being anti-BJP was the opposite. Sadly, she's going to be a player in the political scene, and it's quite obvious that she lacks intellectual depth. Ishita says, well aware that I will not be the only one emailing about this, I heard the last episode with an open mind, Chetan Bhagat and his views. My point is that he has an opinion like everyone does, but is it an informed opinion? I remember a discussion on the podcast a while back about who can be experts to be called on the show. By these standards, does Chetan Bhagat fit the criteria? What are his expertise about, and is that knowledge in-depth? A result of engaging with the subject topic for a while. I also understand the need to move away from echo chambers, but as a listener of this long time podcast, I'm used to a quality of opinion and discussion, and I felt that was not met. Someone like Makran Paranjape, professor at JNU, has opposing views to our echo chamber. He supports the BJP and its ideology, but he is able to reason it. As much as I will disagree with his opinion, I'm sure it will not sound like a rant. Maybe we should get him.
Yeah, we'll try to get him, but I'll just tell you one thing why someone like Chetan Ishita can talk is that you can disagree with Chetan and he doesn't he doesn't become sadu. And I will tell you there's certain people who people think are very reasonable voices on the right. I've interacted with some of them. If you disagree with them, basically they are petrified that if they're sitting around this table and I criticize Modi and they do not jump up in his defense, unki prospect kharab ho jayega. So, and Hafta is not an argument platform. It is a discussion platform. And a lot of that will turn into argument because some of these people, in fact, that I've forgotten his name. He's written a few books. He's also seen as some sort of a right-wing intellectual. Now, if he comes here, I'll ask him about some of the tweets he's put are demonstrably false. I know if I ask him about those, it'll become a fighting match. But what about this? What about? So that's a waste of everyone's time in Hafta. So I think Chetan's a smart guy. I think he has a certain understanding of just the Indian middle class psyche. I think I find it interesting talking to him. And the most important is you can disagree with him and he will not sadu and fight with you. That for me is what a Hafta guest should be. I don't want him to start fighting. We had also got once, what's his name? He used to be the editor of, he used to be in the India Today group. I've forgotten his name. He came, you could not get a word in here. He would just keep fighting. Then what is the point of Hafta like?
Sandeep Bamjay.
Yeah, correct. It was just, you couldn't talk to the guy. Yeah.
No, he's a political columnist also of the Times of India.
I think a lot of people, I mean, it's a justifiable point of view that what is his expertise?
His brother of Kaveri Bamjay.
Yeah. Right.
Acha, Sandeep Bamjay.
Yeah. He came. You couldn't talk. It was just a fight. So then it's a waste of an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Okay, last letter by Anonymous. The case of Atul Subhash is actually not that surprising for a lot of people from 25 to 40 years of age bracket and living in urban India. There have been so many cases of marriages just ending within months and the boy being literally extortioned into giving lakhs because in-laws just do not protect him. The discourse around it, however, has been foolish and almost bad faith. Are women and girls taken advantage of in rural and some parts of urban India? Yes, they are. Dowry is still a big issue in India without a doubt. At the same time, because of the ways laws are framed in India, do men have equitable rights when it comes to sexual harassment or when it comes to filing for divorce separation? No, he doesn't. There's a basic tendency of humans where if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile and they'll do it irrespective of gender. It's just unfortunate, even here, a basic reality that the laws are not equitable cannot be admitted or brought up for a discussion.
Yeah, well, Anonymous, we discussed that at length today. I hope you find some value in that discussion. But yeah, thank you, Manan. I'll get in touch with you. Again, repeating, please pay to keep news free. When the public pays, the public is served. Tell your friends, relatives, whoever else you can. And now let's get the recommendations for the week. Manisha, let's start with you.
So my recommendations, 2 recommendations on Newslaundry's YouTube channel. One is my interview with Sudha Bhardwaj, which is out of the paywall. It's 2 hours long. I urge you to please watch it. It will be worth your time. And the other recommendation is Anand's interview with William Dalrymple, which is behind the paywall, which you should subscribe for and watch.
Okay. Anand?
Okay, so I am plugging my recommendation with very trivial piece of news that Oxford University Press has named brain rot as the word of the year.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Brain rot.
so brain rot generally means I am taking a different interpretation of brain rot. Brain rot is generally meant to be the cognitive decline that people suffer or mental fatigue because of constant scrolling and consumption of online content. But there is also more, say, noble, not noble, but edified kind of content, which is also equally dangerous because I think all of us, academics, journalists, and all have become attention entrepreneurs on social media platforms. People, like, you see the book launch scene, means the authors are just like advertisers. They are no longer authors. They don't look like writers. Means yes.
What do writers look like, Anand?
No, means
Suppose I was to write a book, what would you say? He doesn't look like a writer. He looks like
is
a
the point.
Mawali
That is
in a
the
Thar,
point. The writers,
Punjabi singer.
The one who drives the
not look like writers while doing that.
Okay.
while
Qualification.
while doing that, also writers have to be read, not to be seen so much.
Right.
And the thing is, you see, there are many people, if you go to their one book launch lecture and 2 days later you
same thing exactly
verbatim,
verbatim.
one bad you don't expect the writers to be the spokesman of a political party saying same thing everywhere. So no, so these are basically attention entrepreneurs. We have turned them into then journalists also. And online means, is it a kind of, I know that you are being thankful to the people who appreciated you, but when you have words of praise and you retweet it, there is just a simple way to say thank you. But you retweet, someone has said this way about me. So what has happened that from even the cerebral circles, people have become attention entrepreneurs. The professors are attention entrepreneurs, journalists.
So the brain rot has started at the top.
top. It's not a brain rot has this.
It's not a teenage phenomenon.
This thing that only low quality content causes brain rot. No, even the so-called cerebral circles are also causing you brain rot with a lot of attention enterprise.
So very good. At least those of my friends who are listening to this in the last week, every friend of mine has shown this brain rot article to their children. देखा क्या होता है तुम्हारी ब्रेन को? हाँ, so कैसे मम्मी पापा पहले आपकी ब्रेन को क्या हो रहा है ये देखो.
So with this long preface, I have not come to the recommendation. So my recommendation is something that I recommended 2-3 years ago also. There is a book by Leldil. I think that's the name of the author, but I read the book. It's by the title, it looks like a self-help book, but it is not. It's a cultural commentary. It's how to do nothing, resisting attention economy. That so basically how the things which will never matter in your life, which will never have any connection with you, how the consumption, constant consumption, the addiction as a cultural phenomenon, she dissects it, and then she goes towards the position of how to do nothing. And that has to be a cultural response. I am not sounding anachronistic in it. Of course, the technology is there. You have to stay with it and respond to it. But brain rot, it was all in context of brain rot. Yes.
Raman sir?
We have not discussed at length, this the vice president, the notice data that has been moved against him, no motion. So Mint has come out with a report, 10 points against Dhankar. So 10 things that he had said, Dhankar has said, and which are objectionable. So I think that will put in perspective why this no motion move was made. So this is one. Second is there's an article today in Hindu, Beijing, how Beijing removed pollution in 2013. It's a one full page article, which is very, which is a telling tale that how in 2013 they identified each of the pollution, PM 2.5, PM 10, the extent of it, and then how they, dealt with it, and their money, the budget they increased fivefold, and from 2013 to 2017-18, everything was fine with Beijing. So I think it is. We are also starting our campaign next week. So this is a good read, Hindu. And the third is, since we have done one good story on Sambal, which was 30 minutes of video story by Avdesh. Avdesh has just interviewed. It's just a 20 minutes long interview with the Sambal MP, because Sambal MP has been accused in one of the FIR that he instigated the mob. So I think his version is also very important. Parliament is already talking about it. So we have done his interview.
Right. Thank you, sir. I heard this really good podcast by Christopher Lydon just yesterday, or was it the day before. It's his conversation with Mark Blythe. I think that's how you pronounce it. He's an economist at Brown University. He's Irish with an Irish accent. And he is, of course, Brown University is one of the most liberal universities. I guess it's probably even more left than Berkeley. He explains Trump's victory. And I think in hindsight, everything seems so obvious. I think we get so colored by our own prejudices, by our own biases, and everyone has them, that sometimes you need a reasonable voice from your side to tell you, dude, this is obvious. And not everybody who votes for him is necessarily a bigot, etc. We know that, at the back of our head. But I think it's a very important listen for quote unquote, progressive/liberals to understand it's the economy is stupid. And I think in the same context, it's good to revisit the Obama years, which is a conversation with Christopher Lydon has had with 4 different people on the Obama years. And one of the, people he's spoken to used to be a major Obama supporter in 2008, a professor English at Yale University, Bromwich. I don't know if I'm pronouncing the name correctly. And that's a very critical take on Obama by, again, a liberal. So I think it's important to listen to these views, even if they seem distasteful to you. And which is why I think every political grouping should have someone who can reflect on why something succeeds and why your side fails, without being branded as a sellout or, how. Right. And I think that would not happen if it hadn't been for social media. Because it's not like someone sitting around here would have a counter view and we'd say, oh, get out of here, you're a sellout, you are actually a Jai Chand or whatever hell it is. But people are just afraid of social media backlash. That's why they don't articulate their views. So I think these are 2 very good ones. And one more podcast, I don't know if I've recommended it before, I mean, it's fairly recent. What a second term Trump term could mean for SpaceX. You just get an idea of the kind of pollution SpaceX rockets cause. And yesterday, Elon Musk became the first person ever to cross a net worth of 400 billion. That's with a B. And he has just put in an application for, in Texas, some big land where they will develop it for their rocket launches. I really think he's a very dangerous man and he has way too much power. And I think he could potentially do tremendous damage. I really think he's a big existential threat for the earth. So these are my 3 recommendations. And we'd like to thank listeners who gave us feedback. Like to thank our sound recordist Anil, our producers Priyali and Prashant. Yeah, I'll leave you with this song. I first thought we'll have a song by Gurmeet Ram Rahim Singh Insan in honor of Modi ji, but I thought in case anyone knows the Kapoors, send them this podcast so they know what some people think. And this is the song from the man who made all of them relevant, from his film. Maybe you should be a little honest to these values. Thank you, Raman sir. Thank you, Anand. Thank you, Manisha. Bye-bye.